Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to News 3 Live at 4 on this Monday. Charlotte Deleste in for Susan Simon is a bit under the weather today. Good to see you.
Nice to be seen.
Get out of the house.
Happy Monday, yes.
Take a shower, do your hair. Yeah, it is Monday, that's for sure. We got a busy show. Charles Franklin will be along a little later on to talk about the Mueller report.
We could have a whole
we could do the
3
whole hour.
episodes with him.
That's right. We'll get to that in a minute, but first, here's what's making news on this Monday. We're learning more information about a homicide this weekend in Beaver Dam. It's the city's first homicide in more than 28 years. Madison O'Neill will join us with the latest on that.
And a Dane County judge says he will make a decision within the next 24 hours on blocking lame duck laws passed by Republicans.
And we'll share the latest from Washington, where President Trump is claiming victory after special counsel Robert Mueller concluded neither the president or anyone in his campaign knowingly coordinated with Russia. Let's take a look outside. Sort of a March day out there.
I guess so. I was hoping it would be just a scooch warmer, but that's coming.
A little Sky 3 action downtown. Lake's still frozen.
Yeah.
It's not going to be that way for a while, it seems. Quiet is good are the weather words, and Dana Fulton's in the backyard with the good news.
It is quiet. I got to say, both Gary and I were pretty pleased this afternoon with the sunshine. The whole forecast itself don't have too many hiccups in it for the next several days, actually. Our Doppler track's nice and calm this afternoon. It's still very sunny outside, and we still have about 3 hours of sunshine left for your evening, and we're really planning on a little bit of a cool evening, but otherwise not too bad outside. Again, that Doppler track's going to stay clear for us overnight. 43 currently in Madison. There is a little bit of a breeze at times since it's coming from the northeast, and about 9 miles per hour. It does feel like we're in the upper 30s right now. But 43 is where we're at again in Madison, 46 in Janesville, and about 44 in Platteville right now. In the last 24 hours, we have dropped just a little bit. That cold front sliding through yesterday, bringing a few sprinkles, did bring us some cooler air for today. Now, those wind speeds are going to stay anywhere from 8 to 15 miles per hour for us throughout the evening. Still coming from the northeast, but it will shift directions a little bit as we head in through Tuesday. By Tuesday night, that's going to usher in some warmer air for the middle of the week. Until then, though, we are expecting our temperatures to drop, of course, over the next few hours. Once the sun sets, we'll be in the mid-30s by 8 and below 30 by 10 o'clock. Will be in the upper 20s. It'll be a little chilly to start off tomorrow morning, but we will have sunshine and quiet weather in the forecast for your Tuesday. Right now, I'll take a look at what's going on the roads. This is the Beltline right at Park Street. Thankfully, not seeing too many brake lights on the Beltline right now. In fact, much of Dane County actually looks okay. We really don't have any accidents to report. Your speeds both east and westbound on the Beltline should be just fine. Around Janesville, also not seeing any delays right now through Rock County or up into Jefferson County. Now, northbound from Verona to the Beltline will take you just about 6 minutes, 7 minutes from Oregon to the Beltline, and then from Springfield to University Avenue, it'll be about a 4-minute drive. So quick little zip. 27 minutes from Janesville to the Beltline, then from Sauk City to Middleton, 16 minutes, and from Sun Prairie to downtown, just a 17-minute drive for you this evening. Should be a pretty smooth drive. You'll just need the shades as you're hopping on the road.
All right, Dana, thank you.
We are learning more about the Illinois Assistant State's Attorney shot to death in Beaver Dam over the weekend, along with her relationship to the suspect who's in custody.
Madison O'Neill has been following this story and is back from Dodge County now with an update. Maddie?
Well, Charlotte and Mark, Illinois court records show Stacia Hollinshead and Ulysses Medina Espinosa were married and had filed for divorce, and that in 2016, Hollinshead was granted a restraining order against Medina Espinosa, who is now in Dodge County Jail awaiting charges following Hollinshead's death. Divorce records also show Hollinshead has sued Medina Espinosa for child support. Beaver Dam police say they're still figuring out the relationship between Hollinshead, who works as an assistant state's attorney in Illinois in DeKalb County, and Medina Espinosa, who is from Beaver Dam. But in a Facebook post, the DeKalb County State Attorney's Office says Hollinshead's death drives home many points about domestic violence. We spoke with the organization PAVE, which provides support services in domestic violence situations in Dodge and Jefferson counties.
From our experience in the work, most often violence happens in those types of situations during a child exchange. So my mind goes there, and I wonder what we could have done in support of the victim.
Nino says at the end of the day, any blame lies with the perpetrator. Police say they're looking into what led up to the shooting and couldn't say if it involved a child exchange. Hollinshead was found dead Saturday afternoon in a home with several adults and a child. We don't know whether that restraining order Hollinshead had was still in effect at the time of her death, and we'll hear more from Beaver Dam Police on where the investigation stands tonight at 5 and 6.
First homicide in 28 years. Got to shake up the community.
Long time, about 30 years.
Yeah. All right. Maddie, thank you.
You're welcome.
A judge says he will issue a decision by tomorrow on whether to block laws Republicans passed during a lame duck legislative session. 5 unions filed a lawsuit in Dane County last month arguing the laws violate the separation of powers. Judge Frank Remington heard hours of oral arguments today and said he would issue a written decision by the end of tomorrow. He hasn't said how he would rule, but did say the order will deny Republican legislators' request to dismiss the lawsuit. Another Dane County judge blocked the laws in their entirety in a separate lawsuit last week. The 3rd District Court of Appeals is considering whether to stay that order.
Wisconsin Attorney General Josh Kaul is joining a multi-state investigation into 3 opioid distributors that began in 2017 as a nationwide overdose crisis continues to claim thousands of lives. Speaking in Wausau this morning, Kaul announced the Wisconsin Department of Justice would join the probe that's looking into the distribution practices of Amerisource, Bergen, Cardinal Health, and McKesson. Kaul's office says they control about 90% of the country's opioid supply and should be held accountable.
By that I mean making sure that those who contributed to this epidemic and broke the law in doing so are held accountable. I think that's important for...
The multi-state investigation into marketing and sales practices seeks to find out whether the industry's own actions worsened the epidemic. Drug distributors and manufacturers have pledged to help solve the crisis. Sources tell CBS News that Special Counsel Robert Mueller told the Attorney General and his deputy 3 weeks ago that he could not reach a conclusion on obstruction of justice.
The president and his team are claiming vindication while Democrats continue to press for the full release of the report. Nicole Killian has more details from the White House.
In the Oval Office with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, President Trump expressed relief that the Mueller investigation is over.
It was a false narrative. It was a terrible thing. We can never let this happen to another president again.
Special counsel Robert Mueller delivered his report into possible Russian collusion during the 2016 presidential election to Attorney General William Barr on Friday. On Sunday, Barr sent a 4-page summary to Congress. The summary stated several times there was no evidence of collusion between the Trump campaign and Russia. President Trump's team did a full-court press Monday claiming total vindication, but the summary says the report does not exonerate the president, especially when it comes to obstruction of justice.
They could not conclude there was a legal violation. In other words, a case that they would have moved forward on.
Congressional Democrats have several open investigations into the Trump administration, and they are pushing for the full release of the report.
The majority of the American people want the Mueller report to be made public. I'm especially interested in those aspects of his report that go to whether or not there was an obstruction of justice.
Republican Lindsey Graham wants to look into the Justice Department's actions in the investigation prior to the special counsel's appointment.
Those who believe that the FBI and the Department of Justice were playing politics, that they wanted Clinton to win and Trump to lose, that somebody can satisfy them.
The president said today it wouldn't bother him at all if the full Mueller report were released. In Washington, Nicole Killian for News 3 Now.
The House Intelligence Committee is moving forward with 2 public hearings this week on the Trump administration and possible ties to Russia. One is with a former Trump business associate, Felix Sater. Attorney General William Barr is expected to get a grilling on the report when he appears before Congress next month to testify on the Justice Department's behalf. And coming up tonight at 9 o'clock, CBS News will present a special report sharing the latest on the Mueller report and what happens next.
Stormy Daniels' attorney Michael Avenatti has been arrested by federal officials. The Manhattan U.S. Attorney's Office has announced extortion charges against Avenatti. Prosecutors say he attempted to get $20 million from Nike by threatening to expose damaging information about the company. Federal prosecutors in California also filing charges against Avenatti for wire and bank fraud. Well, the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention is reporting more than 300 cases of measles this year.
The agency says 314 cases of measles have been reported across the U.S. since January 1st. That's 46 more cases than the number reported last week. The CDC says so far 6 states have reported cases, including Illinois. The disease was eliminated in the U.S. in 2000, but is common in many other countries, which is how the current outbreak started.
Boeing tested software changes to the 737 MAX planes over the weekend. A person briefed on the test said pilots from the 3 U.S. carriers that fly the planes tested software changes to a key stabilizer system on Saturday. The changes are meant to decrease the chances of triggering the maneuvering characteristics augmentation system. It's believed the system played a role in the Lion Air crash in Indonesia last October. The Federal Aviation Administration has said there are similarities between that crash and the crash in Ethiopia earlier this month. The crash has led to the indefinite grounding of all 737 MAX jets. Stocks were mixed on Wall Street as growth fears weigh on investors' minds. The Dow Industrials added 14 points, closing at 25,516. The Nasdaq Composite Index lost 5, and the S&P 500 was off 2. Well, there will soon be a new way for cord cutters to watch the latest TV shows and movies.
Apple CEO Tim Cook revealed his company's move into a streaming service today with help from some of the top names in Hollywood. Apple TV Plus will be available this fall and joins a crowded field of streaming services, all vying for viewers. Steven Spielberg and Oprah will be producing content. Actors Steve Carell, Jennifer Aniston, and Reese Witherspoon will be in a new production called The Morning Show. Users will also be able to subscribe to individual pay channels like HBO, Showtime, and Starz with a new service called Apple TV Channels. With so much competition, however, experts question how successful it will be.
How many people are going to be willing to add another streaming service? TV feels so fragmented. Apple's going to have a lot of work cut out for it.
Apple has yet to announce a price for the new Apple TV Plus service. Around the state today, lottery officials say a $2 million Powerball ticket was sold in Racine over the weekend. A Racine ticket holder matched 5 of 6 total numbers, and by including the Power Play option, they doubled their prize to $2 million. Those winning numbers are 24, 25, 52, 60, 66, and your Powerball is 5. Winners have 180 days from the draw date to claim their prize in person at the Wisconsin Lottery's Madison office. That winning ticket was sold at the Speedway gas station on Green Bay Road in Racine.
And we have more local news now. Severing ties with the Henry Vila Zoological Society, Dane County will be working with a national zoo expert to help during its financial transition period. The county announced today that they'll be working with Mike Gill. He's a national consultant with more than 40 years of experience in the zoo and aquarium fields. The contract between the county and the Zoological Service ends Sunday. They've been trying to negotiate a new contract for nearly a year, but haven't been able to come to an agreement.
The NFL is breaking a tradition to honor another one. The league announced today the season opener will feature the Packers and the Bears on Thursday, September 5th. The season usually opens with the game featuring the defending Super Bowl champions, but in honor of the NFL's 100th season, the season will open with the Bears and the Packers, one of the longest running rivals in the game.
It is a tradition.
Well, that's going to be a big one.
It is going to be a big one. Well, coming up today here on Live at 4, it scared up more than $70 million out of moviegoers this weekend.
But does Jordan Peele's follow-up to Get Out live up to the hype? Film critic Will Loper lets us know after the break.
all right.
Gabe!
I got this. Now, I thought I already done told y'all to get off my property, okay? So if y'all want to get crazy, we can get crazy. Now, the cops are already on their way. Hey, 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 hey!
Well, that was a clip from Us, one of the newest movies to scare its way into theaters. Is it worth seeing? Here to let us know is our film critic, Will Loper. Big shoes to fill here.
Absolutely. You know, it's really hard to beat Jordan Peele's first film, Get Out. This one doesn't quite do it, but there's still plenty of scares, thrills, and social commentary to really make you think long after the movie is done. Lupita Nyong'o stars as Adelaide, and Winston Duke plays her husband Gabe, who, along with their 2 children, are driving to their beach home for a nice, relaxing vacation. Well, that is until 4 figures in red jumpsuits show up, 4 individuals who all look exactly like Adelaide and her family. So what exactly is going on here? Well, let me lay it all out for you step by step. No, I would never. So the fun of the film is all in finding out just who these creepy doppelgangers are. And creepy is an understatement. This movie may or may not have scared my socks off, I'm not telling, but I did like those socks, Jordan Peele. The family dynamic is also done extremely well. This feels like a real family interacting, which makes you root for them. And if you'd like to dig deeper into the symbolism, there is definitely subtext and social commentary going on here. You'll definitely want to go with someone so you can start discussing the movie as soon as it's over. Script isn't as tight as Get Out. There's some impossible plot holes depending on how you look at it, but I think it's still worth seeing.
This looks a little more horror-y than Get Out.
Yeah, Jordan Peele was not necessarily upset, but a little miffed that people were so confused about the genre of Get Out, and he wrote on Twitter, Us is a straight-up horror film. So you know what you're getting into. It's a horror.
And it is.
Yes.
Do you have socks on? Oh, you do. You found
I
them.
replaced them, yeah.
All right.
Found at least one.
So what's the rating?
Well, first, let's go to the box office.
Okay.
Box office made great money, $70 million over the weekend compared to Get Out, which made $33 million. It's the 3rd highest R-rated film opening ever and the highest live-action original opening ever, too. For a movie that's not a sequel, remake, or comic book adaptation. That's huge.
Yeah, that's big numbers.
Big numbers.
All right, so speaking of numbers, what's your rating?
3.5 bunnies out of 5. Lots of symbolism in those bunnies. That's all I'm going to say.
Bunnies have doppelgangers? Perhaps?
Yeah, my lips are sealed, Mark. You're not getting anything out of me.
All right. Next week,
we've got Dumbo. Disney continuing their live-action remakes.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Well, that should be good.
Yeah.
We'll see.
I'm hopeful.
All right, well, thank you.
Thank you.
And we'll be right back.
You're watching News 3 Now, live at 4.
Take a look at this. Oh, baby. The labor and delivery unit at Maine Medical Center is crowded and not by patients. 9 nurses who work in that unit are expecting babies within the next few months. They're all due between April and July, and the soon-to-be moms say it's been great to have so much support right there at work, and the nurses will also be there for each other's delivery.
9.
9. Yes.
We had a baby shower here today for Dave Caulfield and his wife Amanda.
It did. They're counting down. Just a few more weeks.
Babies everywhere.
They're popping up babies.
Springtime.
Any news from you? No.
No. Weather, sunshine.
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
She's going to deliver a forecast.
Yes, I am going to deliver a forecast. We're looking at clear skies, thankfully, heading into your Tuesday. We'll take a closer look at what's ahead for the rest of the week right after the break. Well, the sunshine sure was pretty nice outside today. A little cool though. Afternoon highs in the low 40s, about 43 for us right now. That's the warmest we've been all day. Now we should have been in the upper 40s for afternoon highs, but again, not really a bad spot for us at 43. Starting the day off close to 24 with that breeze this morning. It did feel a little closer to 20 degrees, so it was a little chilly early in the day, and we are expecting another chilly morning for your Tuesday. Our Doppler track is nice and calm, barely even a cloud in the sky. Again, that sunshine still around for a few more hours, so you got a little more time to step out for the evening if you need to get the dog walking here soon. Now, we did have a cold front swing through for us yesterday. Of course, that front bringing just a few isolated showers late in the evening and overnight or early in the night for us. Now our temperatures have fallen quite a bit. In fact, looking at the last 24 hours, this is a drop in our dew points. You can see that drier air sliding in for the Midwest. The warmer air still settling in for the Southeast, and see a little more moisture in the Southeast also, of course, as that front pushes in that direction. But our temperature trend, it continues to stay low through the rest of the evening. Overnight, we're going to have another chilly night, but for your Tuesday, Thursday, we are expecting sunshine and temperatures to be just a little closer to average. So from the northeast right now, our breezes at about 8 to 15 miles per hour. We're going to fall overnight. We'll be in the low 20s to start off the day tomorrow. Notice our wind shifting directions just a little bit as we head into your Tuesday afternoon, and that's going to help pump our temperatures up just a little bit. Rather than being in the low 40s like today, by tomorrow afternoon, we're expecting our temperatures to climb to the mid to upper 40s for us, with that southerly flow continuing on into Tuesday night and for your Wednesday. Now, Wednesday morning, we'll see our temperatures in the low 30s. Again, with that southerly flow, it just doesn't get as cold overnight. We'll see a partly sunny sky for Wednesday, and then our next chance to maybe see a few isolated showers will start to develop for us overnight Wednesday and as we head into Thursday. But those Wednesday temperatures are going to be quite a bit warmer. Plan on getting close to 60 for the middle of the week. Now, it won't be too bad to start talking about the big 6-0. Now, looking ahead to Wednesday night, mostly cloudy sky really starts to build on in, and we have the slight chance to pick up a little bit of rain for us Wednesday night and into Thursday. Most of the moisture seems like it's going to stay south of Wisconsin, but we're just not ruling out the chance, of course, to see just a few little drizzle spots. Nothing that is going to ruin your Wednesday night or your Thursday by any means. Again, most of that's going to stay pretty far south. Now, overnight, our temperatures will be falling close to 22. Plan on a really similar start to the day like what we had today. For tomorrow, light and variable breeze because it's going to be shifting directions coming from the northeast in the morning and then really settling more southerly by the afternoon. Mostly clear sky expected. Be a little cold outside. Light southern breeze for us later in the day. Temperatures will be in the upper 40s for our afternoon highs. It will be mostly sunny outside for your Tuesday, and overall just pretty pleasant for us. Again, similar to today. Nice to have a nice spring day as we're working through the last full week of March. We're going to see that trend continue as we head into Wednesday. A little warmer for us on Wednesday afternoon. That's when we're expecting to see that partly sunny sky. So we will have some sun in the morning, then the clouds start to build in later on in the evening, and we have that slight chance for some showers starting to develop overnight. For Thursday, that slight chance of showers lingers in the upper 50s for afternoon highs on Thursday. That's warmer air in front of our next cold front. And the next cold front is going to swing through and bring some rainfall for us for Friday. Unfortunately, that means we are also going to see some cooler temperatures slide in for Friday. Behind the front, we drop back into the middle 40s rather than staying close to 60. Our rain chance might mix with a little bit of snow early on Saturday because temperatures will be falling close to freezing for us. And then by next week, we get rid of this little system coming through, and we're expecting some sun to come back into the area.
Is that March's last hurrah?
Yeah. But it's a small hurrah. It's a baby hurrah. We're not going to have our temperatures. Again, it came in pretty wicked, so we're going out with just a little spring system coming through.
I'm not putting the shovel away yet.
No. Actually, I had someone call in last week, very, very nice, asking if they should take the plow off of their tractor, if they should take the snow plow off their tractor. And respectfully, I just said, if you could wait a few more weeks, I think that's just in your best interest to wait. Not that I'm shaking my magic 8-ball to see what's ahead for a month, but we'll just wait.
I just got chills down my spine.
Okay. Oh, it's almost done.
Okay.
In July.
Wait a minute, then you can take it off. What is July? Then you're safe.
That's where we're good.
All right, Dana, thank you.
Thank you.
Well, we want to remind you about a special call for action event that we are hosting tonight on News 3 Now.
Our call for action volunteers will be here at 5 o'clock tonight to help get your consumer questions answered.
Our Leah Linscheid is in late this afternoon to tell us a little bit more about what you can help people with. Hi, Leah, you're up past your bedtime.
Hey, let me tell, for you and Charlotte, I will stay here at all hours of the evening. I'm glad to be here. We are just about half an hour out from our special call for action evening call-in this evening, and our volunteers are already here, setting up, getting ready to take your phone calls. Now, these are the real stars here. We have 5 volunteers here tonight, and they have an incredible amount of experience, whether it's in public health, whether it's in education, communications. We actually just counted up the number of years that these folks represent in their careers. Yeah, they're laughing because they weren't sure they wanted me to share this, but 200 years, folks. That's so impressive, though. That shows just how much experience we have here at Call for Action. So if you have a question, chances are these folks can answer it. Now, here with me right now is our lead volunteer, Barb. Barb, thanks so much for joining us this afternoon.
My pleasure.
Let's start with how much experience these folks have. Let's brag a little bit about who we have.
I am so pleased that we have people that come from some diverse backgrounds here in terms of their professional experience. We have a public health nurse who was also a counselor. We have an school administrator who has become our telecommunications guru. And let me tell you, we have so many calls, telecommunications calls. We have a DVR counselor who is also a travel agent. We have somebody who did research science work. She's a great photographer on the side as well.
Yeah,
and
all the skills.
I was a teacher in Madison and have a social work background and work for Dane County Human Services. So we have a whole host of people. We have some volunteers who are not here. One worked for the Department of Justice. So not that we give out and dispense legal advice, we don't do that, but we know where to send people.
Love that. Has there been a case over the years, the hundreds of calls you've taken,
dear.
has there been one that's stuck out in your mind?
There are many that have stuck out in my mind, but there was one recently that really sort of hit close to home for people in my age group, because most of us here are retired. And that was a case where someone was charged $600 and some for a shingles shot. The gentleman did not realize, he was told by the staff at his clinic that shingles was covered, the vaccination was covered by Medicare. It's not. And so he was stuck with this huge bill. And we resolved that. Actually, that was my case. We resolved it by connecting him with the St. Finney's people who help and advocating for him at his clinic. So he got off paying $0.
See, and that's just one of countless cases, success stories that we have here at News 3 Now at Call for Action. So give us a call tonight, 608-270-2833. See if we can help you starting at 5. Folks, back to you.
We will see you back at 5 o'clock. Boy, a lot of experience out there. It's good to
Don't
hear.
want to mess with them.
No, you don't.
Leah, thank you. Being proud of who you are, that's the theme for our latest Time for Kids project.
We're calling it to Be You, and our Danica Lewis joins us next to tell us about the project and how you can get involved as well. That's when Live at 4 continues. We are excited to introduce you to a new Time for Kids effort here on News 3 Now. It's all about us being proud of who we are and encouraging our kids to do the same. And here to talk a little bit more about our Be You campaign, Danica Lewis. Hi, Danica.
Hi, it's good to be here.
Thanks for being here.
Of course, thanks for having me. So we should be clear, when you hear Be You, we are not talking about Boston University. We're actually talking about BEYOU, and it's all about figuring out who you are and being confident in that. Easy, right? Okay, we know it's not, and we know it's particularly difficult for our kids who are getting critiques and pressures from all sorts of angles about what they should look like, how they should spend their time, what's cool, what's not cool, and how perfect they need to be. SSM Health child psychologist Dr. Kathleen Hipke says helping our kids see through all of that starts with us setting the example ourselves.
Well, I think in addition to sort of really showing kids we're interested in their interests, I think the other thing we have to do is model self-acceptance ourselves, and to be able to let kids see that we also kind of step into what we're interested in or what our values are or what our opinions are without a lot of trepidation about what other people think.
So you got to walk the walk, too. Dr. Hipke says it's also important to nurture whatever our kids are showing interest in, making sure they know what makes them different from other kids, or maybe even us, is a positive thing. So we'll be posting some stories from some familiar faces here on News 3 Now, sharing how we are all uniquely ourselves. We hope you share some of your own stories using that hashtag BeYou, so we can all pass those along as well. So keep an eye out on social media for that. If you need some help, print out your own version of the sign there and get going.
And it's probably it's tougher for kids nowadays with social media. The pressure on them.
Yeah, I mean, it's coming nonstop, 24/7 from all sorts of angles. I mean, when, you and I were kids, there was pressure to do well in school, to do well in sports, to do well in whatever extracurriculars, but now it's just relentless, and that's the difference here, and something that maybe we forget or not fully understand because we haven't lived it.
That's where the parents come in.
Yeah.
And there's another program we're launching specifically for adults as well.
Yeah, let's talk about that a little bit. With the help of our partners at SSM Health, we are starting an ambassador program. So if you work with kids or teens, maybe you're a coach, a youth group leader, a teacher, whatever, you can apply to be a BU ambassador. You'll get a starter kit and some resources along the way. We have the information and a link to the application up on our Time for Kids page at channel3000.com. We just thought this would be a great opportunity for people who are already sharing this message in the community to maybe support them in that and help them along and share their stories too.
Be you.
Be you. It's simple, but not so simple.
Right.
We know that.
All right, Danica. Thanks.
Yeah,
Great effort.
of course.
Looking forward to it.
Yeah, me too.
Well, coming up, the Mueller report continues to dominate the news cycle in the nation's capital, but how is it resonating in the rest of the nation? Some thoughts on that from Charles Franklin when Live at 4 continues.
Overall, your Monday evening should be pretty sunny. We're looking at a standard commute right now. The Beltline right at Park Street. As usual, westbound seems to be rolling along a little better than the eastbound side. We're seeing just a few delays there, of course, once you get past where 14 splits off. Now, those speeds on the westbound side actually hovering in a pretty good spot. 61 miles per hour, closer to 51. A little slower the more towards the center of town you get, but once you get a little further out west, you're up to 65 yet again. Down towards Janesville, we aren't seeing any major delays. 39 and 90 should be smooth all the way from Madison down to Janesville through below 8. And if you're heading to our southern neighbors. Now, northbound from Verona to the Beltline will be just about 6 minutes. Westbound from Oregon to the Beltline, it will be just about an 8-minute drive. And then from Springfield to University Avenue, 4 minutes for you this evening. Northbound from Janesville to the Beltline, 27 minutes. Sauk City to Middleton at 19, so just a little longer than usual, a minute or two longer than usual. And then from Sun Prairie to downtown, it'll be about 17 minutes for you if you're heading out the door right now. Let's quick look at your first alert traffic.
All right, Jana, thank you. A former Russian military officer attempted the coldest ever half-naked skydive in the country's northeast over the weekend. The temperature 58 below zero when Oleg Razanov jumped out of the plane topless. Oleg is known as the Lord of Cold. He has 11 records in extreme cold activities, including playing the Jew harp shirtless in a snowbank. There he is.
Well, somebody has to.
All right, it's been just a little over 24 hours since the 4-page summary of the Mueller report written by Attorney General Barr was made public.
Some Republicans are calling it vindication for President Trump, while some Democrats feel there are a lot of questions left unanswered. The director of the Marquette Law School poll, Charles Franklin, joins us with his perspective. Welcome.
Thank you.
No news weekend, huh?
Yeah, it's been a quiet weekend here. Little basketball, little hockey, and now this.
A lot of questions remain, but one question's answered. There was Russian influence on the 2016 election.
I think that is one of the things that's a little overlooked in the immediate coverage is the Barr summary of the Mueller report says there's clear evidence that Russia sought to influence the election through social media, and a number of Russians have been charged in that. And secondly, that Russians were involved in the hacking of the Democratic National Committee servers and emails. So that sets those two parts about did Russia try to interfere pretty clearly on the yes, they did side. But then it also says the Trump campaign did not coordinate or conspire with the Russians in those efforts. And then finally, that on the question of obstruction of justice, the report does not reach a conclusion, and the Attorney General then concludes that no prosecution is warranted on obstruction charges.
So what does this mean now moving forward?
Well, I think it means, first of all, we'd like to see the full Mueller report released, perhaps with some redactions for parts that are grand jury proceedings or involve other cases.
Do you think that will happen?
I think it so far looks likely to happen. Barr signals in his letter that he wants to do that. The White House has mostly said it wants to do that. Trump himself has said he has no objection. Things could always spin out of control before it's over with, but I'd be very surprised if there's substantial resistance to releasing it. And for context, the 4-page Barr letter is hardly the full explanation of what Mueller's findings were. So seeing the full Mueller report is pretty important, even if these are the conclusions, which mean no prosecution for obstruction of justice and no finding of the Trump campaign cooperating or coordinating, or colluding, if you prefer that term, with Russia on their explicit interference, which, again, the report does find the Russians interfered.
But Mueller would not come out and say, no, there's no obstruction of justice.
The phrase that Barr quotes in there says, this neither concludes that there's evidence to charge obstruction, nor does it exonerate the president or the White House. So that vague finding that the evidence is not strong enough either way left it to the Attorney General, who concludes in his letter again that no prosecution is going to be followed. There you see much more room for a judgment call, and again, reading the entire report undoubtedly won't settle the issue to everyone's satisfaction, but would lay out the full set of considerations.
Can you talk a little bit about the Southern District of New York? Will they pick up the ball at this point?
Yeah. Well, we know from some court filings that the Southern District of New York, the federal prosecutors there, are pursuing some cases. They don't grow directly out of Russia's involvement in the election so far as I'm aware. But they do touch on other elements such as the Presidential Inauguration Committee and its spending, some influences, some things going around about the Trump business enterprise. So we could certainly see more developing there, but it's essentially separate from the Mueller investigation.
And this certainly doesn't settle anything. Both sides are in their corners, and this is far from over.
No, I think both sides will certainly interpret the results in ways that fit with their beliefs. You know, Hillary Clinton, when the email server was investigated in 2016, and the FBI said that no prosecutor would charge her based on this evidence, that didn't settle the issue for Republicans who were convinced that she had done something wrong. Seems unlikely that these conclusions or the full report will convince Democrats that Trump has not done something wrong. But there's a distinction between doing things that are politically wrong and things that are criminally wrong. And here we have the Mueller report concluding that there's not a criminal case to be made.
It'll be interesting to see the full report if and when it comes out.
Certainly will be.
Charles, thank you as usual.
Glad you had a boring
weekend of fun reading, you know, when it comes out.
And the women's hockey team
That's
won
right.
on the national championship.
That's right.
That was the big news.
That's the big one for me.
All right, Charles, thank you. We'll be right back for the final check of your forecast. Sun's still out?
The sun is still out. It's not going anywhere, which is nice for us. We're in for a really pleasant evening. Right now it's about 43, so it is a little cool outside. That breeze coming from the northeast about 9 miles per hour, so you'll definitely notice it. And it puts our wind chill closer to about 38. That's just in Madison. Notice in Mineral Point, we're holding on to 45. Bosco Bell at about 48. And 45 in Prairie du Chien also. Now, our temperatures over the next few hours are going to fall pretty quickly, actually, once the sun sets. That sun's really what's keeping us warm right now. The breeze will still be pretty light variable tonight, but temperatures will be in the 20s by 10 o'clock. And then as we head into tomorrow morning, we're planning on temps dropping to the low 20s. So it will be a little bit of a chilly start to Tuesday, but we are going to warm up, thankfully, in the afternoon. More sun back in the forecast for your Tuesday.
And 60 maybe by
Wednesday.
Ready for
Wednesday,
that
we're looking
warm-up.
close to 60. Yes, mild.
All right, Dana, thank you. We'll be right back.
At her